اللهم زيني فيها بالستر والعفو واسترني فيها بلباس القنوع والجفاء واحملني فيها على العدل والإنصاف وآمني فيها من كل ما أخاف بعصمتك يا عصمة الخائفين.
اے معبود، آج کے دن مجھے پردے اور پاکدامنی سے زینت دے. اس میں مجھے سیر چشمی اور خودداری کے لباس سے ڈھانپ دے. اس میں مجھ کو عدل اور انصاف پر آمادہ فرما اور اس میں مجھے اپنی پناہ کے ساتھ ان چیزوں سے امن دے جس سے ڈرتا ہوں. اے ڈرنے والوں کی پناہ.
اعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. وبہ نستعین وهو خیر ناصر ومعین وصلی اللہ علی سیدنا محمد وآلہ الطاہرین. السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ and welcome to the daily supplications of the month of Ramadan. Today we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for four things. We say Allahumma zayyinni, we ask, oh Allah, beautify me, make it beautiful for me. Fihe bis-sitri wal-ifaf, we ask for chastity and covering. Beautification of a person is not by being open, but rather by being covering, because all those things which are beautiful are usually covered. Even if one pays attention or reflect upon the nature, nature is very hidden. The more hidden, the more beautiful it gets, and the more mysterious and the more beautiful it is. You might have seen many of the Discovery Channel explorers, when they discover something, they say it's so beautiful, but at the same time they acknowledge that there is something more beautiful than what they have discovered. So beauty is always hidden. So therefore we ask today beauty of chastity and beauty of covering, to be chaste, to be modest. It is not to be chaste and modest only mean that a person covers or wear hijab, but chastity and covering is also something to do with the soul of an insan. Chastity and covering is also for others as well. One is modest to oneself, one have to be modest in regards to others. One must cover oneself, one must hide one's fault. We are never allowed to speak openly about our faults to others, unlike how we see, in church, that they go and they talk about and they confess to the Father whatever they have done, and the Father says you've been forgiven. But within Islam, we are not supposed to openly tell people or anybody about the faults that one have committed, but rather discuss this, speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, unless one wants to take aid and help in regards to that. One tells a person or an individual who have some knowledge. For example, in the same case, that if one is ill, then one speaks to the doctor and try to get the remedy for the illness that one have. The soul have many illnesses. Yes, one could in general speak to someone and say, or a person who is educated, or a Maulana, for example, say that shaitan is bothering me, jealousy is bothering me, I have this issue, I have this. So therefore that Maulana or that knowledgeable person might guide you for that, but not rather that, okay, particularly speak that I committed this sin, for instance, and please seek forgiveness for me. No, one have to cover that. Not only one cover oneself, but even cover others as well. There's Ayatollah Bahjat. Bahjat, who is considered to be one of the great Ayatollahs, who could see the soul of human beings. Marhum, may Allah bless his soul, increase his daraja. They asked him, what is the greatest zikr that you perform? Bahjat says, Sattarul Uyub. I do the zikr of Ya Sattarul Uyub, which means that Allah is the one who covers the faults of people. So you and I have to behave like God, as the Prophet have said in the hadith, that make your behavior like the behavior of God. If God is of forgiving, you have to be of forgiving. If God is generous, you have to be generous. If God is just, you have to be just. If God is kind and caring, you have to be kind and caring. Merciful, you have to be. Make your akhlaq like the akhlaq of God, the Prophet have said. So if God is Sattarul Uyub, if God covers the faults of others, do not discuss the faults of others. That is nothing to do with you. And if you know that somebody have committed an error, committed a mistake, cover that up. As their hadith says, that brings 70 reasons before blaming a moment. You saw a moment doing something, you are not sure about it, or even if you are sure about it, bring 70 reasons, perhaps, right, before you blame him for something. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a beauty of covering, a beauty of chastity. Now, like I said, it is ifaf, covering, bisatril ifaf, for example, is not only for oneself. In regards to that, covering means hijab. Yes, indeed, for our sister, our salute to our sisters, specifically and especially in today's world, where they are targeted, where they are frowned upon, they are giving dirty looks, but still our sisters, our mothers, they don't really take off their head covering, their hijab. It is so much of reward for them, as Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam says that a person who practice ifaf, modesty, it is the similar reward for him as if that person have struggled in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the battlefront. So the same way is for them, that amount of reward that those people who receive this, because covering is a very battle with the nafs, jihad ba nafs, right? Obviously you're trying to, something, you're not trying to say that, you're trying to protect the honor of a brother, of a sister. That is also covering. That is also being modest. You're being modest towards yourself by hiding the faults of people, right? Now we also ask today's dua, because the time is very short, I wanted to mention one story of covering of hijab in regards to the mother of Ayatollah Sistani, which I will mention it perhaps if we have time in the end. Then we ask, Allahumma zayyinni fihe bis-sitr wal-ifaf, and then wasturni fihe bil-libas al-qunu' wal-kifaf. We ask for clothes of contentment and chastity. Clothes of contentment, that we be having the clothes. Doesn't really mean clothes in this sense. Clothes means a layer, a covering, a guard, a shield of being content. Qunu, qina'at. A person who is content is a king. A person who is greedy, he is always greedy. So a person who is satisfied, who is content, and there are so much of emphasis that one should be content of what one have. Contentment brings about thanksgiving to God, and thanksgiving brings about increase of what God have provided to you. So therefore we also ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this great quality of having qina'at, the little that one have, and if one is satisfied with that little and one utilizes that little, he is saved for many things. But usually people who are materialist, people who are after the dunya, they are not content. Iman, having faith, brings about that contentment. One is satisfied with it. Then after that, the third thing that we ask today is adhering to justice. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the tawfiq, that we adhere وَحْمِلْنِي فِي عَلَى الْعَدْلِ وَالْإِنصَافِ. We ask that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we adhere to adl and insaf. It's very important. one of the key differences between the school of thought of Ahl Shi'i and Ahl Sunnah is the issue of Adl. Adl within the Shi'i thought comes under the Usul al-Din. It is part and parcel of Usul al-Din. Tawheed, Adl. Tawheed and Adl. Adl is connected to Tawheed. Our God is the one who is just. Our God is the one who is just. For example, the reason of this is a very theological discussion which time doesn't really allow us, why Adl is considered to be one of the key phenomena or one of the principles of Usul al-Din in Ahl Shia, is because when we look at, for example, the history, and when we find how Imam Hussein was massacred, many tried to rectify this or try to escape from this horrendous act or any act that they commit against humanity, against justice, against peace. Some people, particularly the school of Wahhabis, who are supported by these Saudis, for example, if you look at the newspapers are full, especially now after this wake of these attacks that we have, newspapers are full in England. Robert Fisk talks about in Independent, and other newspaper, Guardians talks about it, that what an hypocrisy that a state which supports terrorism, Wahhabism, the Western countries who love democracy, who love humanity, who love peace, are having relationship with them. What sort of hypocrisy is this? We are having trouble here. People are, treating us unjustly here, unfairly here, but still we support those countries who support injustice. The human rights in Saudi Arabia, if you just look at it, one will be amazed at it. So therefore it is quite important. Today is the day that we ask God for justice. The reason why within the Shia school of thought justice is important is because the Shias have been oppressed, right? And they say that Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the massacre of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Karbala, the grandson of the Prophet, Allah is just. And on the other hand, they say the Khalifa who did that, who carried out that act, is because God wanted this to happen. God wanted this to happen, that is why Karbala took place. They try to blame it on God, their act against justice and against fairness. God is just, so we also have to be fair. That is why our Imam, the Imam who will return, he is known as Adlul Muntazar. He is the Adl, he is the justice that is waiting, Muntazar, he is waiting for it. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his haste reappearance, inshallah. So therefore justice is that we really need to ask, that we have to be just, we have to be kind, we have to adhere to fairness, even with our enemies, as it says. Right? You have many stories where Imam Ali alayhi salam, he himself was taken to court when he was blamed that, when he sort of claimed that the shield had been stolen by a non-Muslim. And then when he was brought to court, against his claim, the Qazi asked that, do you have any proof? Because the Qazi refers to Hazrat Ali alayhi salam by saying Amirul Mu'mineen. Imam Ali said that, Qazi, you should refer me as Ali ibn Abi Talib, because you are referring to the other gentleman with his name. Don't refer me by Amirul Mu'mineen, because if you refer me by Amirul Mu'mineen, that means you have shown respect towards me, not towards the other person. This is against justice. When it is an Islamic court, everyone, the person who claims, the person who is, for example, blamed, he is guilty or whatever, they are all equal in front of the Qazi. Then only he could pass a correct judgment. If you are influenced by me as Amirul Mu'mineen, you might be, leaning towards your justice, what you would give. Fairness and justice. Fairness and justice. So Amirul Mu'mineen in that, when he claims, people ask him, do you have any proof? The person says, no, I don't have any proof. O Qazi, Hazrat Ali alayhi salam mentions him. As the shield was in the hand of the other person, he claims it belongs to him, then it belongs to him. The Qazi passes the verdict, it belongs to the person who is claiming because it is in his hand. And you don't have any proof that that belongs to you. Then Amirul Mu'minin accepted the justice of the Qazi. He said, I accept, I surrender to what you say. Then this man who have stolen, who have picked up perhaps when this shield have fallen down, he says that what a great Amir, what a great Khalifa. The Khalifa of Muslims is taken to court on a false claim and he is accepting whatever the Qazi is deciding to be just. Fairness and justice that we ask for today. And finally, we ask that, oh Allah, keep me safe from all that I fear. Human beings have different fears. The greatest fear and the reason why a person is fearful is because he is ignorant. A person who have no knowledge, he is afraid, he is fearful. So, oh Allah, when I am asking, keep me safe from fear, means that, oh Allah, increase in my knowledge. That's what we are trying to say here. Because a dark room, we are afraid to go inside. We fear to go inside a dark room because we might fall down. Because we don't know who is inside. So we fear. So how to get rid of the fear? Turn the light on. When we turn the light on, we have knowledge of everything. We are not fearful. So when we are not fearful, because of the knowledge. So when we ask today, oh God, keeping me safe from all that I fear. That is why the awliya on the day of judgment is La khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. The waliullahs, the saints of God, the righteous ones of God on the day of judgment, they don't fear anything and they don't have any sorrow. So we ask Allah that, Allah, keeping me safe from all that I fear. The fear of punishment, the fear of sirat, the fear of judgment, the fear of, this is the day of judgment, this is the hereafter, hellfire. Khallisna minan nar ya Rab. This is the month, right? And then in the dunyas there are lots of fears. Unfortunately a person has fear of his boss, fear of, having no money, fear of having no job, fear of having no family or wife. Allah, take me out, provide me with all of this. And Allah is the best provider. Ask God. And this is the month to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, bihaqqi Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, Masumin alayhimus salam, who have taught us these du'as. And we ask these four things today. غفر الله لنا ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.